Lexi, how are you?
Good morning.
All right. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing today? It is bright and early here in Denver, Colorado. Super excited to have you all with us today. As always, want to encourage people to participate in the chat rooms where they're able. We've got some things that are going to be tied around that component. Obviously, we're always really curious to understand, where you're coming in from. I see a couple folks in Texas, Washington. Outside of where you're calling in from, I'm personally curious, what's the number one song on your iPod right now or Spotify that you're listening to? So where you're from, what are you listening to? Let's start breaking that ice because it's a great way to get to know each other. We will give it another couple of minutes here and then we'll kick things off. But, again, super excited to have you here and looking forward to seeing where everybody's from. All right, we got Austin, we got the UK, love it. Obviously, Watson's calling in from Chicago HQ. I feel like you're getting brownie points there from the ShipBob team. Lexi, Jordan, you guys are calling in from Salt Lake City. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. We've got some fellow Silicon Slopes folks out here. Uh-oh, we're getting some love on the Pit Vipers already. This is exciting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not just a jerk who's wearing sunglasses inside. We do work for a sunglass company.
Yeah, well, they're blue blockers, right? You got to protect your eyes when you're working in front of the computer all day.
Exactly.
It's actually very, very healthy that way. I love it. All right, so we got a totally different chat here. I didn't see. We got Santa Barbara, Baltimore, listening to Stick Figure. Don't know that song. Got Spanish Springs, Nevada, North Carolina. This is great. New York, Texas, Oklahoma, Vancouver. Ty, I'm very jealous of the sushi that you get up there. Anchorage, Alaska. Don, welcome to the conversation. Shout out to you for calling in from Alaska. What time is it there? Lansing, Michigan. Love it.
I think 3 hours. I was just in Anchorage for a vacation. I was in Alta, Alaska.
7 a.m. on dedication right there. Well, Don, we've got some cool prizes to give away in a bit, which I'll explain in a moment, but be sure that you're active in the chats because one of those prizes is a coffee bundle, which if you're on this chat at 7 a.m. Anchorage time, sounds like you have earned a cup of joe, to say the least. Well, cool, y'all. It's about 3 past the hour. Let's go ahead and get started here. By way of formal introduction, my name is Tom Davis. I'm a platform partnerships manager here at ShipBob. I've been with the company almost 2 years now, and I'm very, very excited to kick off today's ShipBob presentation around all things WMS Unpacked. We do have a killer lineup today. We've got folks that are industry leaders. We've got a couple of ShipBob co-founders, and then a variety of industry experts as well that we will have on the call itself. A couple of things that we want to go through just as housekeeping. Don, as I alluded to there just a moment ago, we are going to be giving away prizes throughout the webinar series today. So get engaged with the chat, ask questions. We love to see the engagement and understand obviously where people are coming from and what's top of mind for them. But a couple of these prizes are going to be a bundle from our friends over at Primal Coffee, a gift card to get you some awesome Pit Viper shades. And then for those of you that are trying to stay active, enjoy the last little bit of nice fall weather here, we're going to have a Spike Ball Pro kit so you can get out and be active and enjoy that weather. That being said, I am super, super excited to announce our first session with one of our co-founders and VP of Strategy, Anthony Watson, as well as our friends Jordan and Lexi from Pit Viper, which for those of you who aren't familiar with them is a global sunglasses brand working to fundamentally achieve the optimal blend of performance and style. We are big fans of Pit Viper because they do actually use our warehouse management software to power their warehouses in Salt Lake City. And since actually implementing the WMS system, they're now expanding to omni-channel fulfillment or a hybrid model rather, that allows them to fulfill via ShipBob's 3PL in both Canada as well as Australia. And since implementing that system, they've actually increased their pick pack accuracy rate to almost 100%, which is absolutely amazing there. So in this interview, they'll go through and kind of unpack how Pit Viper has leveraged the WMS to optimize their warehouse's performance, especially during peak season as we ramp up to that. So with that being said, Anthony, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn it over to you, and looking forward to hearing what y'all have planned.
I think Jordan and Lexi should get you on the payroll, because that was one of the better intros for any company that I've ever heard. So.
You're not going to need to talk anymore.
Right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you, Jordan and Lexi, for being here. Since we have about 30 minutes in the session or 25 minutes left, I'm going to jump right in. Jordan and Lexi, if you both want to give your background within Pit Viper, and then talk a little bit about the company as a whole for the audience here.
Sweet. Yeah, I can kick it off. My name is Jordan Davis. I'm the operations manager here at Pit Viper. So essentially, I oversee our homegrown warehouse here in Salt Lake, as well as our 3PLs, as Tom mentioned, both in Canada and Australia. So overseeing those, as well as helping manage our inventory and managing our integrations between our tech stack as well. I'll pass it over to Lexi.
I'm Lexi. I'm the customer service manager here. I oversee all of our servicers who directly talk to our customers throughout the day for any sort of servicing issues that they need. Yeah.
Amazing.
I can go over a little bit about Pit Viper as well for the crowd. So Pit Viper is a sunglass company. It started in 2012 when our co-founder, Chuck Mumford, found some cool glasses he liked at an Army surplus store and ended up splatter painting them, making them his own, and trading those for rides up the canyon to go skiing or for beer. And then he joined forces with our other co-founder, Chris Garson, and now we're a multi-million-dollar sunglass company with over 80 employees, a warehouse here in Salt Lake, and 2 3PLs. So we've come a long way since the beginning of our journey.
That's amazing. I remember when we first came to visit y'all, coming in the warehouse and the energy that you all have as a brand, as a company, and the people that you all have hired. I know that was a big part of wanting to keep fulfillment. I'm sure there was an opportunity to either outsource or, I'm sure the founder maybe started fulfillment out of his garage or a buddy's place. Like, how did that decision come to fruition for you all to run the facility that you have today?
Yeah, so we have always been like a homegrown, like you said, we started shipping out of his garage however many years ago, and we continue to grow. But that was a huge part of our culture, was being able to maintain that shipping aspect and really kind of having that part of our brand be the last thing that's going into the package to our consumers. And we just like to have a warehouse. So when we were looking at either outsourcing or running a hybrid model, we decided to keep our homegrown warehouse because it's a big part of our company and who we are, but as well as make it easier for them, outsourced to Canada and Australia, which are our other 2 largest markets. So it's been working really well, and ShipBob's been a huge help, and we're still able to maintain that company culture that we really strive for.
And I imagine you're able to do a lot of customer-centric things, whether it be custom gift notes or things that you might have to expedite through the system. I guess, Lexi, from a customer service standpoint, I imagine having your own facility and be able to change things on the fly are super helpful. I guess, what were some of the hurdles originally when you were trying to decide between outsourcing and keeping it in-house? Was there a customer service aspect to it, or was it solely operational and from Jordan's team?
It's kind of a little bit of both. Mainly having our warehouse here I'm actually at right now is super easy. I can just go right in the back, talk to the guys, get things figured out. So from a customer standpoint, it's super fast, super quick, super easy for us to kind of handle those servicing issues that come in. It was obviously a lot of operational stuff too, as well, as Jordan can touch on.
Yeah, I guess to segue into that, I would imagine that the team wasn't necessarily fulfillment or operations experts first. So I guess, do you have any stories, or when you're talking about going from probably, maybe hundreds of orders to thousands to tens of thousands, right? Like, how do you think about going to scale, and were there any, stories or, tips and tricks for the folks here on how to get into out of the growth phase and into the scale phase that where you're at now, where you have, global fulfillment, both in the US, Canada, and Australia?
Yeah, so we started shipping out of garage, like I mentioned, but and then that just continued to grow and grow and grow. And then through COVID, obviously we hit our stride and had thousands and thousands of orders. And I don't know if there's necessarily a story associated with this, but we were using a label printing software, which as our WMS, and I use air quotes because there wasn't much managing of the system. It was just printing labels. So with our scale and our growth projective, like, we had to figure something out. It wasn't sustainable to be doing this the way we were. So that's when I came into the picture about 2 years ago as warehouse manager. I think I was brought in almost solely just to figure out a way to maximize the efficiencies in the warehouse. And the first thing I saw was the inefficiencies with just printing labels. We had our warehouse leaders coming in at 6 a.m. before everyone else, manually batching those by carriers, by how many units were in each order, and that took hours. And then by the time they were done there, the shippers would come in, we'd hand them the labels, and we'd hope that they'd be able to find the glasses and not aimlessly wander like I used to when I would help ship, and then hope that they picked the right box for it to fit in, and then hope that they got it sent out to the right people. So we really wanted to eliminate those question marks and just increase efficiencies in there. So that was the biggest trigger for us to look into a warehouse management system, for sure.
And so what did that process when it came to vetting look like? How did you go about as simple as finding a WMS or tools for this space, which some inside baseball on ShipBob is we found there's kind of a gap in the market here. There's either really enterprise systems or, Jordan, as you said, label printing systems. So in this, high growth e-commerce space, was it easy to find companies to talk to, or how did that vetting process look like?
Yeah, so it was more so word of mouth and just a lot of research. We didn't necessarily do a formal RFP. But talked to a lot of people, wanted to make sure that we were getting a system that was easy to use within our price range, because there's a lot of them out there that are incredibly expensive. And then the biggest hitter for ShipBob taking the cake here was we were looking for something that we could grow with in terms of finding a company that could help us with our warehouse management system, but also help us expand globally. So when ShipBob said, hey, we have 3PLs in Australia and Canada, those are the two places we were looking. And we took a look at the warehouse management system, and it was sweet. So that was the biggest point. But yeah, we had a vendor scorecard, and those were the two most weighted things for us.
I'd love to see that vendor scorecard afterwards. Any of the critical feedback notes that we had, I would love to get that. I guess, Lexi, from a customer service, customer success standpoint, were you part of that vetting process, right? You have to interact with the system, I imagine, on a daily basis, and your team does. Was there for lack of a better term, a score for the customer success piece, or how do you think about that integrating into your operations and warehouse management system?
Yeah, so it was a little bit us. It was mostly operational in that aspect where they found a system that worked for them the best, and we kind of were integrated into it afterwards. But after kind of getting our hands dirty and in there, it has helped our customer service team immensely. It's been super fast, super easy, quick to understand as well. So from that aspect, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we talk about our system, we wanted to build it. One of the big features that we wanted to talk through was consolidating software stack, right? Instead of the internal phrase we use is create a Frankenstack, right? You have an inventory management tool to an ERP to Google Sheets, and you're connecting all these things together. I guess, how do you think about that in terms of the WMS operating with the rest of your business, does everybody use the same portal, or do you all have different sections that you have to train out on? Like, how important is that consolidation to your team?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a huge consideration because there were like inventory management systems, and then there were label printers. We did want to have that consolidated because we have a pretty complex tech stack as it is. So we use Shopify as our consumer-facing platform or software, and then that flows into NetSuite, which flows into ShipBob. So everyone that is utilizing any of these tools is using the same thing. So definitely wanted to like make it more minimalistic than we could have with having 3 different softwares beyond NetSuite and Shopify.
Right.
So that was a huge consideration for sure.
Awesome. And with peak season looming, I'd like to jump in and kind of talk about those different systems and how you think about how they interact with your peak planning, right? So when you think about, Q4 orders going out the door, I don't know if everybody on the call knows, but, there could be an increase of, 100, 200, 500% in terms of the volume of orders. How do you think about, let's just start with staffing and labor. And how do you think about peak season? In a lot of cases, folks are hiring temp labor or folks that might not be on board after the peak season ends. How do you think about managing that labor, and how do you plan for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure everyone's hoping that I have the perfect answer for them, but I don't. As most other e-commerce businesses can guess, forecasting for labor during peaks is really hard. And it's been a challenge for Pit Viper in the past years. But since having ShipBob integrated, we are able to use those KPIs, and we're able to see how many orders are going out per shipper per day. And then we can extrapolate that out with our forecasted sales and what we had last year in historical data. So we've actually been able to use a lot of the indicators and KPIs from ShipBob, as well as our own data, and created a labor forecasting calculator, which essentially put in how many orders you think you're going to get a day. It spits out how many people you'll need on the floor that day, which is usually an incredibly large number. So that's where the question is, do we hire seasonal? Do we hire temp agency, or like bring in a temp agency? Do we bring in people from our own company? So during our peak for June and July, which is another one of our busiest seasons, we use this labor forecasting calculator and hired a good amount of seasonal employees with the expectation that, hey, you're going to be here for 2 months. That's all you get. That's all you're guaranteed. Which a lot of people were super stoked to come and do that at Pit Viper because it is such a cool company and a good place to work. And we create that environment there. So it's really easy to find seasonal people for us. It is difficult to see orders slow down and then have like 15 people working in there. So we are continuing to try to dial that even further, but we're getting better at it, and using these indicators and KPIs that ShipBob provides, and with that warehouse management system has been super helpful for us to get a better idea of what we're looking at.
Right. And I didn't realize you had a second peak in June and July. So thank you for coming out to our conference Fulfilled out in California. Adam Sandoval spoke with us, and I was surprised. About half the session covered hiring for culture and how to keep great employees and how to motivate great employees. So I guess I'd love to ask both y'all this question. I think Jordan, from the aspect of you have a very unique hiring, I guess, pool of off-season either snowboarders or extreme sports folks that want to be with the brand, which helps with culture as well. And then Lexi on the customer support and service side, I think finding great people to represent the brand when things maybe aren't going as well as they could be is really tough. So I'd love to hear from both of you on hiring and making sure the maintenance of culture is there.
Yeah, I can kick it off. Yeah, like I said, people want to work for Pit Viper, so we're able to be pretty picky with who we bring in. We hire good people, we hire hard workers. So in terms of motivating people, we have really good benefits. If you're a full-time employee, you get $1,000 wellness benefit, which no air quotes there, it is for wellness, but most people use it on a ski pass, or you can get a new bike or get a yoga class. So there's a lot of incentives from the get-go to stay, work hard. But it's also just a fun environment in both the warehouse and in the office where you're excited to go in every day, and happy people work hard. So yeah, I think that's kind of my perspective on the hiring process for us.
Amazing. I couldn't agree more on internal benefits and making sure the team feels supported. Lexi, what about you from the customer support and success side?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely being around the folks that work here is a huge plus for us and a huge incentive, and everything the company does for us as well. During rough times, though, it is hard with customers. They're upset, then that makes us upset. But at the same time, we are very flexible, and we do want to make them happy. At the end of the day, when they walk away, we want a smile on their face. So we kind of live by the platinum rule instead of the golden rule. So treat others how they would like to be treated instead of how you would like to be treated is something we kind of do on the customer service team, of listen to what they're saying, hear what they're saying, and then doing what we can within our ability to give them what they want.
That's great. And those both sound like perfect answers. I think it's great in theory and tough to do in practice. And I know after coming to y'all's warehouse and meeting your team many times that you truly live it. So kudos to you all. I think one of the biggest pieces of getting new teammates trained up or existing teammates confident that their systems are working are making sure that you have, one, a good training program, and two, great systems that support them. I think, Jordan, from your end, one of the biggest piece of that is the kind of the picking, packing, and inventory management, and making sure that the system is directing the team in the right areas, and that the inventory that is there is actually digitally matching what's physically in the warehouse. I guess, what issues did you have before when you didn't have a directed system to go pick and pack, whether it be mispicks or frustrated teammates because they were having to do double work or so on and so forth? What did that look like before? And then maybe if you could walk through what that looks like now, and some of the time savings and headache savings that you have from using the WMS, that'd be helpful to hear about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, before it was, like I kind of mentioned earlier, a lot of aimless wandering. I would go in and help ship, and I would look for one SKU for 20 minutes. And granted, I wasn't in there every day, so the people that were a bit more efficient than myself. But this using ShipBob eliminates any wandering. It directs you to the most efficient route to pick all of your units, all your SKUs for whatever, if you're picking batch, if you're picking single pick. So that's eliminating a ton of pick time, as well as it directs you to what box size to use, which also is very hard if you have a bunch of stuff and try to look at it and be like, oh, that could be an 854 or something. And it's easier when you do it a lot, but eliminating any question marks and making it seamless and almost mindless. It's like, you are going to get this right the first time, no matter what. Getting rid of that trial and error has increased our pick, pack, ship efficiencies like exponentially.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think just for some inside baseball again from how ShipBob started the WMS program, is we've only started launching this about 2.5 years ago. But this WMS is what we use to run our own facilities up until this point. So it was homegrown. And then we realized that there was a huge gap in the market, like Jordan has been saying. And so we kind of practice what we preach in using our own tools to do exactly that: eliminate mispicks, increase throughput, make sure we get orders out on a timely basis every day. I guess from the customer support side, what systems do you use outside of a ShipBob, or what tools are imperative to your life, Lexi? I believe I've got a gorgeous case study on you all, which is a partner of ours as well. I guess outside of that tool, is there anything else, or would you want to talk about how your day-to-day looks from the customer support side in relation to operations?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you were saying, we do use Gorgeous, which is a great platform. It connects with Shopify. It connects directly with ShipBob as well. So on the efficiency side of customer service, it's very quick and easy to use. When you're on a ticket, whether it be a chat ticket, whether it be an email ticket or our help center tickets, all of the information for that customer is pulled right into the side widget, which is super helpful for our servicers. They can compare data from different platforms. It's all just compiled into one platform for us. So our C stats go up, our time on tickets go down. It's super efficient, and it has been a great way to sort of service people.
Yeah, I just put the 2 blogs in there talking about order accuracy from the operations side, as well as the CSAT scores from Gorgeous. That's awesome. I think, most of the brands that we work with are growing e-commerce companies, and obviously, the ones that make it to tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the goal. But this journey is difficult, and it's hopefully the same for a lot of folks, where you can consolidate systems. But candidly, I think it changes a little bit for everybody. I guess if there's any advice for brands who might be at the garage or early days stage of operations, fulfillment, and e-commerce, is there any advice you've give them today that you wish you had known back then?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say start looking sooner than you think, because it creeps up on you, and having that capacity and being able to look forward more sustainably when you do, fingers crossed, hit that growth spurt, and planning ahead for that would be super helpful, just so you can have that seamless transition, because we were more reactive, I believe, than proactive with this. And it happened fast, so no blame to anyone. But having that foresight would have been super helpful to say, like, hey, like, this is how our trend is looking. We're going to outgrow this label printer pretty quickly, and we have a lot of mispicks going out, XYZ. So just think that you're going to make it big, and be proactive rather than reactive. I think would be my biggest big advice.
Right. And that's specifically in relation to growth, fulfillment, operations in your realm. I guess, Lexi, from the customer service standpoint, is there anything that you learned that you wish you had known, prior to where we're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. So one big thing for us is how connected operations and CS is. If something's happening on the operations side, we are going to hear it from customers. So working with those 2 departments together is definitely something I recommend you do, and make sure that you kind of have those connections and make sure things are understandable for everyone. So have it be understandable for your servicers so that they can better service your customers. You want to have that customer loyalty. You don't want to piss off any customers. So having that together and in one and communicative is very important.
No, amazing. And we couldn't agree more. I think connecting operations and customer service is part of our culture as well. We all live by the same kind of team mission. So it's something that we've lived from day one, since we were fulfilling out of our CEO Drew's studio apartment to our first office/warehouse like you all. We had a very similar story. I think we're getting close on time here. So I want to give you all the opportunity to either plug anything at Pit Viper for the holidays that you like to see. I think we had someone from Alaska. I saw a lot of Pit Vipers in Alaska, so you might have an untapped market there, or a burgeoning market. And outside of that, for peak season or after peak season, do you have any tips or tricks for unwinding, or have any cool trips that you have planned for after December and January? What do you have, or what do you do to unwind with the team?
Yeah, so in terms of exciting stuff coming up, we will have a very exciting and very interactive sale around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So make sure you tune in for that. It's super fun. Follow Pit Viper on Instagram. You could win a limo. No promises, but it has happened before. And then, unwinding after peak, we like to always have a big holiday party to celebrate what we did that year and the accomplishments, as well as bring everybody together, warehouse, office, the whole team, the whole company. So we go into the year feeling like a team rather than just a workplace that you get paid to go to sometimes, hopefully all the time. But yeah, a big holiday party really helps us cap off the year and kind of send it into the future.
Amazing. Tom, I think we're pretty close on time, 1 to 2 minutes. I don't know if you want to transition out here or have any remaining questions for the team.
No, I think this is super wonderful. I think it's really interesting as you talk a lot about internal communication needs between customer support as well as the operational side. The platinum rule was something that I had not been familiar with, but in my experience with customer service in the past, it's always been, acknowledge, align, assure, right? Let's understand what the problem is. Let's be empathetic toward that component. and then let's make sure we're able to walk away with the resolution. Lexi, as you called out, when and where you're able to really not only empower your team, but obviously keep your merchants happy and build that loyalty. I think that's awesome. Well, y'all, thank you so much again for joining us today. Y'all, for those that are following along in the audience, our next session is going to be with our co-founder, Divey Gulati, as he breaks down kind of how ShipBob runs 50 plus warehouses internationally, which is no small task. But before we do that, as I mentioned earlier on the call, we do have a prize winner to announce. So we want to call out Lola Ferrer, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Lindsay Danis will be reaching out to you. Congratulations on winning the Pit Viper gift card, so you can get some super awesome shades as you go into the new year and peak season, so you can look super fly. So we'll be getting in touch with you shortly around the gift card process and make sure that gets over your way. But as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm super excited to announce our next speakers, one of which is our co-founder, Divey, as I called out, as well as our director of product marketing, Brittany Barron. So for those of you who aren't super familiar with ShipBob, we were founded in 2014 out of Chicago. We were actually formally launched through Y Combinator by our two co-founders, Drew Saxena and Divey, who are two entrepreneurs who fundamentally saw, a need for really making shipping a little bit more efficient for online businesses and those SMBs. So Divey is really here to talk about how we can operate hundreds of these fulfillment centers across the globe, both warehouses, the WMS systems, and really what tips you can take from our learnings to apply to your own warehouses or fulfillment operations to help you scale during peak season. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn the stage over to Brittany and Divey, but looking forward to hearing what they have. And as always, put your questions in the chat. We've got another winner coming up after this session. Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And welcome, everyone. We're very excited for Divey to share with you some best practices for optimizing your warehouse going into Q4 and peak season. I truly can't think of anyone better than Divey to deliver this content. He is one of our co-founders here at ShipBob and has really been leading the charge on how we handle operations going into peak and how we've built our WMS to help you. So with that said, Divey, I will hand it over to you to introduce yourself and dive in. And sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Brittany Barron. I'm our director of product marketing, and I'll be fielding questions later today. But Divey, please take over and dive into the content.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Hi, everyone. My name is Divey, and I'm excited to share what we've learned over the years during peak. But before we get into it, I would love to share some background. So I grew up in India and came to the US for engineering and went to University of Illinois, where I did my undergrad and master's. Then I ended up joining Deloitte Consulting, where I was helping Fortune 100 companies with their supply chain software. But being an engineer, and as all engineers do, I had a side hustle with a friend of mine, and that happened to be in e-commerce space. And that is where I realized how hard shipping and logistics is. Every time we would get an order, we would have automated most of the flows except the physical packaging of the goods. And then we had to go stand in line at the post office, which was very painful. And that made us realize how broken this process was and how the big boys, the Fortune 100 companies, had figured it out for themselves. So we pivoted from that e-commerce store and started ShipBob in 2014 with one mission: to help small to mid-sized e-commerce businesses deliver delightful shopper experience by providing them best-in-class logistics and fulfillment capabilities driven by technology. So that technology is the key here, so that we were able to democratize, and we are able to democratize access to the tools and capabilities that the big companies created for themselves. And it has been a great ride for the past 9.5 years or so. We had one brand on our platform that was our own e-commerce brand. And now we're partnering with 7,000 brands of all sizes, and we're helping them grow across all sales channels. We have 100 plus sales channels seamlessly integrated into the ShipBob platform, which is operating across 100 plus fulfillment centers across the globe. The ShipBob platform consists of a robust inventory management system, a warehouse management system, an order management system, along with intelligence to connect shoppers, inventory, and warehouse associates together. So business owners and operators have completely transparent supply chain, and they're able to get insights like never before. And as a result, you're able to provide best-in-class shopper experience to people purchasing products, no matter where they're buying them, online or in store. So today, what we will do is we will go through the basics of warehouse management and then dive into peak. Why peak is so hard, and what are some of the non-obvious learnings we've had over the years. Even if you're not a ShipBob customer, or if you're not using our warehouse management system, these steps hopefully will help you achieve success this peak season and build a stronger, more scalable business through next year and beyond. So, what is a warehouse management system or warehouse management software? Technically, a WMS or warehouse management system is a software that helps companies manage and control daily warehouse operations from the moment the goods and materials enter a fulfillment center or warehouse until they leave. This software is supposed to make sure that your inventory is received, stored, picked, packed, and shipped and replenished in the most efficient way possible. When we started in 2014, we wanted to make e-commerce fulfillment and supply chain transparent and easier to manage. We looked at existing warehouse management solutions and existing solutions out there. They were just not built for e-commerce first, and they were not flexible enough to keep up with today's evolving customer expectations. So we decided to build our own warehouse management system in 2014. And over the years, I and our collective team, we have spent countless hours on the fulfillment center floor, improving our processes and codifying those processes and our learnings into our technology or WMS that gives us visibility into every single part of operations and also helps us drive smarter decision making using the data we are collecting. We used our own warehouse management system for 8 years before we started offering it to our merchants, as we realized some of the e-commerce brands who were running their own e-commerce warehouses were duct taping different solutions to run warehouses. And we had a unique chance, an opportunity to help them be more successful. And to further do a deeper dive into our warehouse management system, we have a few core tenets of our warehouse management system, which are: one, visibility. Everything needs to be tied up virtually and physically. If you're moving anything in the warehouse physically, it needs to have a virtual scan or movement associated with it, so nothing gets lost. Second, scalability. You should be able to scale the system up and down to fulfill 1,000 orders a day, 100 orders a day, or 1,000,000 orders a day. And that was very important to us. Third, ease of use. Over the past 10 years, we've seen different labor markets and cycles come and go. What we realized is we need to create a solution or a system that helps warehouse associates get ramped up quickly, and it's an enabler for them to do their jobs more efficiently and should not be a chore. The last thing is data-driven decision-making. Because we have a warehouse management system, we end up collecting so much data. And what's the point of collecting all this data if you can't really make the process more efficient? So throughout this presentation, you'll see during peak, we essentially utilize these different tenets to make our processes better. But before we get there, what is a warehouse management system trying to optimize? How do we even measure efficiency, which a warehouse management system should be able to provide? So this could be its own webinar on the metrics, but on a very high level, there are 2 or 3 key metrics in a warehouse that we like to measure on terms of productivity. Number 1 is orders per hour. This is something which we monitor hourly and on a day-to-day basis. What is orders per hour? It is simply how many orders are you processing per labor hour. And we break it down into different components as well, which is how many orders are we picking per hour, how many orders we're packing per hour, and how many orders we're sorting or putting in pallets, kilos, and shipping out per hour. This is very important for us to capture because this gives us a sense of what is the actual capacity of the warehouse and how many orders we can produce or have a throughput per day. But also we can break it down and do labor productivity or labor management around what does a tenured employee is able to produce, what is a new employee or ramping employee able to produce, and that ways we can get very granular on our planning. And this orders per hour feeds into a variable cost per hour. This is essentially all the variable costs, which is the wages of the warehouse associates and the benefits, the total cost divided by the orders processed. With this, we can track how it's trending over time. And every time you make a change or you introduce a new change in the warehouse management system, you track its efficiency by making sure your orders per hour goes up and your variable cost per order goes down. And we actually look at variable cost per order in different process paths as well, because certain process paths have lower VCPO. That means it's more efficient. And that means we are able to pass certain discounts to our merchants and they can pass the same to their shoppers as well. And then there's some fixed elements in the warehouse as well, which is the rent, utilities, management overhead, etc. There's no point tracking them daily, but we do track them on a monthly or quarterly basis because we want to see that these fixed costs have leverage over a period of time as we fulfill more orders. Since the rent is fixed, we should be able to get more leverage. And over a period of time, you marry both the VCPO and the full fixed cost per order, and that becomes the total cost per order. And that is how we end up pricing internally. And that's how we suggest, like, once you have the total fulfillment costs, to include that in your pricing or the way you bundle your pricing to your end customers. So now we have an understanding of what is a warehouse management software and what does efficiency look like, or how do we measure efficiency? So what is so special about peak? What changes? Peak season typically is the busiest time and the most anticipated time for most brands. Orders are surging, which is great for the bottom line typically, but can also come with a unique set of operational challenges that we all need to flexibly navigate. The main challenges that you or even we encounter during peak seasons are: one, supply chain constraints from upstream and downstream partners that impact day-to-day operations. What are upstream partners? These are the manufacturers, co-packers, the freight forwarders, the freight. Everything is during peak gets a little jammed, and there are bottlenecks in the system that start to appear. And then downstream are the last mile carriers. Even the large carriers have some fixed capacity because they're also going through peak. So sometimes these upstream, downstream partners and constraints impact your day-to-day operations as well. Second, of course, the increased order volumes strain the capacity of the warehouse. But what happens is, like, you start to see piles or work in progress start accumulating in different parts of the warehouse. And that is very typical because if you have more staffing in picking and less staffing in packing, there'll be a work in progress or a pile in the middle. And that's what we typically see. So that's why visibility through a warehouse management system is very, very important during peak. Third is the staffing shortages and workforce training can lead to errors, delays, and risks, including the safety risks. So this short period of time, which is the peak, places a ton of pressure on your operations and logistics and leaves you with the challenge of delivering a seamless customer experience. And in the next few slides, I'm going to break down how we operate our own fulfillment centers globally to have a more efficient peak and how we leverage our warehouse management system to make the right decisions. And I'll unpack the tips which are non-obvious from outside most likely, and how we go through peak season and how we continue to improve and how you can utilize these learnings and not just get through the peak season, but thrive through the peak season as well. So going into tip number one of the most important levers of your warehouse is the actual team that runs the operations. So all roads lead to staffing. It's very important to track the performance of the metrics that I mentioned, the orders per hour and variable cost per order. We track it all year round so that when it comes time to plan for peak, you can actually look back on these metrics and prepare we're staffing through accurate data-backed decisions. We use our WMS to have visibility into team performance, which makes it easy to monitor for us. And ultimately, we end up creating labor plans according to labor productivity metrics based on tenure and the forecast. So we look at the number of orders forecasted. We look at the average tenure of the staff, and the higher tenured people or more tenured people essentially have higher productivity. So we allocate certain productivity metrics to them, and then we augment our staff with temp staffing or seasonal staffing. And those typically what we see have slightly lower productivity. So based on these metrics, we're able to create a labor plan on how many people we'll need in different process paths in a given day. Then, once these associates are on board, we track their productivity based on different process paths, and we set certain expectations so that they all are aware of what they're capable of and what their expectations are. And lastly, we cross-train employees, especially the tenured employees, in multiple areas to increase flexibility and productivity, because all the labor plans are always based on the forecasts. And forecasts, by their nature, are not 100% accurate. So when there is a variation in the forecast, we essentially use our cross-trained employees to flex up or down in different areas where we see bottlenecks. And we rely on our warehouse management system and the data it provides during peak season to ensure we have enough staff at every single location to pick and pack holiday orders within our SLAs. And we make sure the warehouse is running efficiently. And we also keep an eye on new and temporary employee performance as well. This is key to making sure teams are operating efficiently during the busiest time of the year. And really quickly provides insights into where your operations are falling short. So that was tip number one. Tip number two, again, as I mentioned, all roads lead to staffing. So tip number two is also the same. And Jordan from Pit Viper earlier mentioned this as well, that happy employees work hard. So we make sure we are giving a reason for these warehouse employees to stay and come at work every day. Safety is always first, but it is also important to create a good working environment. As during the silly season or during peak, some companies are willing to pay a lot more to attract seasonal talent, and you don't want to lose your trained and tenured folks during that time. You want them to stay and you want them to be engaged. So over the years, we've standardized this playbook a little bit at ShipBob, but if you walk into any ShipBob fulfillment center during peak, starting Black Friday, you'll see a fun environment where we try to reduce stress, and there's holiday music blaring on the speakers. And we also have theme days in which we have the Spirit Day, Jersey Day, and so on and so forth, on every day of the week. So people are more engaged and they're having fun while we're also having them work hard. We, like as co-founders and love the leadership, we also spend a lot of time in the fulfillment centers during the peak, not to be just visible, but to help out, to understand where the bottlenecks are. And we take that feedback back to make sure we don't make the same mistakes or we don't have the same learnings for the next peak season. We also have these attendance bonuses, which are like clock into win. And then we also make sure we're celebrating daily victories, mostly on a site, team, or company level. So everyone's engaged and everyone knows how we're performing for the day. And we often tell customer stories and how we are making someone feel special and how we are helping other brands win. The next pro tip from our side, which goes into the planning before peak season, is how we store inventory and how we utilize the warehouse space. The warehouse rent is expensive, so we make sure that we're utilizing it in the most efficient way possible. The first thing that we do is we always are trying to minimize picker downtime by replenishing and storing inventory in pickable locations. Often you have inventory in pickable location and somewhere up there, and as peak hits, we make sure that there's a dedicated replenishment staff that essentially is able to bring these items down, which are like now in a non-pickable location where someone might have to use a ladder or a forklift to get these items. We make sure we constantly replenish. So when pickers are on the move, they find inventory in the pickable locations and don't have to wait for someone else to bring the inventory down. Second, we store the best sellers closest to the end of the pick path to bring items closer to packers, so we're minimizing the walk times. Then we are making sure we are storing similar items separately. For example, it's a blue large t-shirt and blue medium t-shirt. We don't want them to be right next to each other because if they're not barcoded, there could be some errors right there. So we make sure they're slightly further apart, but within the same zone or the same aisle. So we are able to reduce pick errors. And the last would be in our WMS, we ensure items are scanned at pick, and that leads to lower error rates as well. Then tip number 4 is syncing inventory across the supply chain. This is very important for growing brands, as most brands are selling across multiple channels and the entire supply chain needs to be in sync for the ideal customer experience across all the sales channels. So what we recommend merchants do is essentially create real-time inventory sync between the warehouse management system and all the sales channels. So once the customer buys the last unit of inventory, it gets marked sold out and you don't end up overselling. We also empower the customer experience teams to create bundles for seasonal promotion so that you're able to sell a high demand product with a low demand product. Maybe the low demand product is at a discount, and you can create these virtual bundles, which make it much easier to sell through the inventory. Then we also enable brands and we encourage brands to have an overflow warehouse capacity, especially if the forecast is off. You should have a backstop, and with a network of 50 plus fulfillment centers that ShipBob operates themselves, essentially you can have your inventory stored in another warehouse as an overflow warehouse. And then the last, we expect, and we personally work with carriers ahead of time to make sure they have ample capacity for us and all our customers using our warehouse management system. So there are no cutoffs like happened during COVID times. And the last tip, which I'll leave you with, is to rely on systematic data-driven decision-making. Over the years, we've realized some of the decisions are very predictable, and a software or an algorithm can make those decisions much quicker and better than some human beings. So what we are trying to do is essentially surface these insights up to the warehouse managers so that they're able to make these decisions faster with a click of a button versus doing Excel math. So some of the examples here in the pick management, if our system identifies a bunch of identical orders, they'll batch them so that once the picker is going to pick these orders, they pick these items in bulk at once. So we're reducing the pick time. Similarly, we have things like auto cluster, in which essentially it's creating carts where the warehouse associate doesn't visit the same location twice and can snake through the warehouse and complete the orders. Similarly, on the packaging side, we realize the box selection. If a packer gets 2 items, how to package it, we want to make it very simple. So we have this algorithmic box selection that makes process a lot more efficient. And what we can also do is, and which we released I think a year or so ago, where we're able to essentially display certain GIFs or instructions on the screen to make sure the packers are also able to follow instructions for very customized unboxing experience as well. So we've learned a lot over the years, but I've tried to distill all our tips or learnings down into the 5 tips, which are not very obvious from the outside. So those were the things I had to share with you. Now we can open it up for any questions.
Awesome.
We do have a couple of questions that are in the chat. We are running just a moment over, so if we can, we'd love to get those answered in the chat. But wanted to say thank you so much, Divey and Brittany, for joining us today. As a reminder to everybody that is following along, everything will be recorded and sent out tomorrow after we wrap everything up. So for those of you that are asking in the chat, the recording and the slides will be available for your review. With that being said, we've got some great content coming up on the way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Fran, who's going to join with some of her partners and take us from there. So Fran, welcome to the stage.
Hello. Hi,
Hey,
everyone.
everyone. Yeah, hey, everyone. I'm Francesca. I'm one of the partner managers here at ShipBob. Just a reminder before we start that we're announcing a winner at the end of the session. So just keep engaged in the chat. If you have any questions about ShipUp, the content they're putting up there, ShipBob, put it in the chat, and we're actually going to do pick a random person who's putting in the chat consistently, and they're going to get a prize that I'll announce at the end of the session. So with that, I'm here with Sierra and Megan from ShipUp. They will be unpacking post-peak pro tips and how to elevate your customers or your post-purchase experience to boost retention even after the holidays. So with that, I'll pass it over to them.
Hello, everybody. Super happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I cannot see you guys anymore, but hope you can see my screen. As Fran mentioned, we're going to be chatting about elevating the post-purchase experience for post-holiday retention. However, lots of these tips and things that we're chatting about are also really great to implement right now to leverage retention for holiday season. So before we jump in, my name is Megan. I'm the field marketing manager here at ShipUp, and I will pass it over to Sierra to introduce herself and who we are and what we do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sierra. I work in sales and partnerships here at ShipUp, and we're so excited to tell you more about post-purchase and how to retain those customers that order for you during the holidays. So what we do at ShipUp, we're a post-purchase solution for e-commerce companies. We work with brands like Locktain, Purple Carrot, Specsavers, Withings, and Birchbox. We enable brands to take control of that volatile part of the customer experience after the customer orders to increase brand loyalty and reduce support costs. And I'll pass it back over to Megan to go through the agenda for today.
Yes. So we're going to kick it off with just some stats so that we can better understand the shopping behavior of the modern consumer. And then we'll talk through the importance of analyzing your existing data to make strategic decisions, leveraging proactive communications to deliver an outstanding customer experience that drives those repeat purchases, and how to turn the occasional unhappy customer into somebody who comes back for more time and time again. So to kick it off, retention is the new acquisition. A couple of stats to keep in mind. Investing in new customers can be 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining existing ones. And those existing customers are 50% more likely to try new products and 31% likely to spend more compared to new customers. So super important to dig into your customers and meet them where they're at. Happy customers equal repeat customers. So for our session today, we have been hosting a lot of events in person, webinars, and have chatted with a lot of our prospects and customers about what they really want to know to set themselves up for success going into holiday season and beyond. So I have a few FAQs from our community that I'll be chatting through with our expert Sierra today. So to start, what is a good place to start for planning ahead for hiccups to ensure customers are coming back for more?
Yeah, that's a great question and something that we at ShipUp can help with. We help e-commerce retailers figure out trends and delays and ensure that they don't continue to repeat. How we do this is we provide a source of truth that aggregates all of your order data into one place so you can easily identify trends and analyze reasons for delays in packages. We also offer customizable dashboards that can be updated to monitor specific trends along with carrier data. We can also use data from your customer feedback through our feedback form, which we send upon delivery to stay aware of any delivery issues that may have happened and make sure they're corrected before that holiday season. One of our customers that does a great job of this is NAKD. We have a little case study up for them now. They're one of a European online fashion brand, and with ShipUp, they were able to identify more than 71K shipping issues through these the analytics and the dashboards that they customized. These issues range from an issue due to carrier, maybe a package lost, etc. And they were able to correct these issues and provide a better customer experience for their customers. ShipUp also comes in over 15 languages, and as they're an international carrier, this was helpful for them to update their customers in the languages that they are ordering in, and they found an 84% visit rate to the tracking page, which is huge. But really the key with this, their use of ShipUp was to analyze the trends that were causing delays and fix that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I think especially going into peak season where the order volume is up, it's super important to understand for your internal team and operations and being able to provide a really great customer experience, to have that zoomed out 360-degree view of what is going on, to be able to course correct or lean into what is working. So this is super interesting. Though, next question is, as much as we prepare, nothing is perfect. Again, with the high volume of orders, something is bound to happen. Lots of packages going all over the place. So what are some top tips for keeping customers happy when on the occasion that something does go wrong?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with issues, proactivity is key in communicating with your customers what happened and what's going on in that delivery process. Only 7% of customers have actually never experienced a delay or some sort of delivery hiccup when shopping online. I'm sure we've all been through the frustration of searching for where a package is if we don't receive it in time. Especially personally living in New York, I'm constantly looking for updates on my packages to ensure I get my hands on them before someone else may take them from my apartment building. So it's really important to proactively communicate with your customers and let them know where their package is along that delivery process. ShipUp actually offers over 60 different notification types to express to the customer exactly what's going on in that delivery. So if there's a delay due to weather, or if there's a delay because the package is stuck in customs, whatever it may be, we believe in radical transparency and updating the customer so they're less likely to reach out to your support team. Our updates are able to mitigate customer frustration with the brand as well, because you can let the customer know that the delay is due to the carrier in these communications. And also, in order to keep the customer happy and coming back and returning, even if there was some sort of hiccup in that delivery process, you can opt to offer a discount code on these updates as well for future orders, so the delay does not significantly impact their review of your brand.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Like people understand that stuff happens, but there's nothing worse than being like left in the dark. And I think it's super important for number one, making sure the packages are actually delivered, and you're able to claim those at your door if you're in a place like New York City, and also just that you know what's going on and can build that brand trust and brand community. We have this great example from one of our customers, Peak Design. Sierra, if you want to talk us through what their challenges are and how they solve them, I think this is really some really great insight for peak season.
Yeah, for sure. So Peak Design is one of our customers that does a great job of utilizing these proactive updates to customers, as well as the on-site tracking page that we build out. They have international shipping, so it leads to longer delivery times and can cause occasional delays and in that delivery process. They also had a high rate of packages actually being returned because the customer wasn't aware it was coming, or they were frustrated by that long delivery timeline. They were competing with consumers expecting 2-day delivery from Amazon and used to that constant updates from Amazon on the tracking page on the website. So what we do at ShipUp is we build out that on-site tracking page for them, and then we also allowed them to use our proactive customer communications and what's going on with the carrier. How we did this is they utilize ShipUp's Smart State notifications, which we actually create based on your carrier's service level agreements. The smart states allow you to catch delays even if the carrier doesn't notify you based on a lack of notification. So we can create an alert that goes directly to your CRM for your support team to then look into and fix what's going on with the package. And also at the same time, we'll proactively notify the customer that there is a delay from the carrier, but your company and brand is looking into it and on top of it. So with these features, Peak Design was able to build brand trust and be transparent with their customers. They also saw a significant decrease in Where Is My Order tickets. With ShipUp, we see around a 50% decrease in Where Is My Order tickets, which is pretty huge. And they were able to cut customer support costs and able to significantly reduce the rate that customers were actually canceling their orders because they were not satisfied with that delivery timeline.
Yeah, super interesting. And I think going into holiday season, it's super important to have these sort of communications in place for peace of mind for your customers, of course, but also for your teams to make sure they are a little bit less stressed for a very stressful season. So as we're talking about these really great proactive communications with your customers, what are some best practices to utilize these communications, emails, landing pages to drive revenue and increase LTV?
So, with the post purchase communications, it is a great opportunity to include cross sell and upsell within these notifications and updates. Tracking emails are actually open 3 to 5 times along the delivery process. So, they have a much higher open rate than your average marketing email. So, you can let customers know about an upcoming sale or maybe recommended additional products based on what they purchased. So, they can go ahead and purchase again from you. Our customers, Coco Via and Boxdraw, did a really great job of this cross-sell and upsell opportunity and utilizing that from ShipUp. And they actually found that ShipUp ended up being their third highest revenue driver. So Boxdraw, for example, their tracking pages on the right here, use ShipUp for repurchase, and they can track how many repurchases were actually made through their on-site tracking page and through their proactive email updates through Klaviyo, if you use Klaviyo, or through our marketing analytics dashboard on the back end of our platform. So you can see exactly how these updates are performing. If maybe one ad is performing better than another, you can change an ad out. But again, it's a great way to utilize this challenge for that cross-sell and upsell as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to the stats that we chatted about at the very beginning, your customers are more likely to spend more with you. So this is a really, I love this example for inspiration on the cross-sell, upsell. They have some product recommendations here and then links to shop more. So I think this is really great. I know when I'm shopping online, which is very often, I'm always checking these emails, and when I like a brand, I am way more likely to continue to browse as I'm waiting for my packages.
100%.
So in the event that someone is not happy with their product, whether it doesn't fit them, whether it just didn't meet their standards of what they expected, whatever the reason may be, and they do need to make a return, what are some ways to keep the customer happy with your brand so you don't lose them as a customer, you don't lose the sale, and to continue to deliver a great customer experience, even though they are returning the product they purchased from you?
Yeah, in the event that a customer isn't happy with what they ordered and then would like to make a return, ShipUp allows you to make that return process simple and easy. We offer an on-site returns platform that we build out on your website. It makes the return process trackable for your customers, so they'll get updates on the return journey tracking information, when that product will arrive back, and when they should get refunded. And they can also have that real-time visibility into that process of when they will be refunded. We see it reduces return costs by 57% and WISMO inquiries about when their return will be processed by 40%. So it's great to really utilize a simple returns portal that's built out on your site. I know personally, if I don't see that there is a smooth and easy returns journey from an e-commerce store I'm ordering from, I don't want to order because I like to try on the clothes that I'm getting, make sure that they fit. Sometimes I'll order a few different of the same items to make sure that I get the right size that fits best, and then I'll return the items that I don't. So it's really important to have a smooth and simple return process for your customers as well. Our returns portal is used by brands including Zara, Ted Baker, Everlane, and it's really a great way to keep the customer happy, even if they're not happy with their product that they did order.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am definitely in the same boat with you on the returns. I am always ordering multiple sizes and needing to return what doesn't fit. And when there's an easy process, it really does make all the difference and certainly encourages me to shop again in the future. So very, very exciting and interesting stuff to keep in mind going into holiday season. Those are our top tips for the day. If you want to get in touch with us, we'll drop our emails in the chat here. But I'm going to stop sharing now so we can see the chat.
Guys, that was great. Great post-peak, well, even prepping for peak tips. I think everyone could probably maybe do one or two things to prepare for peak just to provide a great customer experience for their customers. I think there's like very specific questions in the chat. Like I saw some about pricing and then something about integration. So I think for those, maybe we can just reach out to you guys directly.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any additional questions for them, either put it in the chat right now or go to the ShipUp booth, which they'll be monitoring and they'll be able to get in touch with you. But for the two people that ask very specific questions, we'll have the team get in touch. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And the winner is for the prize. It's actually a Primal coffee bundle, and Primal's one of our clients that we fulfill for. So the winner is Michelle Khan. Hopefully I said that correctly. And then the ShipBob team will be in touch to coordinate getting your shipping information and reaching out. But everyone just keep posting your questions in the chat because we will be doing a prize later on in some of the other sessions. But thank you so much, Sierra and Megan. And we'll see you guys in the next session.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Krista. I'm a partner manager here at ShipBob and very excited to introduce Patricia McCarthy. She is the knowledge lead over at OrderDesk. Patricia got their start at OrderDesk on the support team and uses that experience to inform their approach to user experience and technical writing. They live in San Francisco, where they usually can be found hiking, watching B horror movies, and playing the theremin very badly. I love that fact. That's a fun one I haven't heard.
Thank you. I'm glad you haven't heard it because I am bad at it. So.
All right. So today, Patricia is going to be talking about how to enhance holiday order fulfillment by leveraging automation to ensure a smooth holiday sales season. So I'll pass it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Okay. So just to get started, I want to let you know a little bit about us at OrderDesk. So we are an order management app that works with merchants and artists and suppliers, and ultimately we're about automating your workflow. We have seen, since we've started in 2014, over 100 million orders, and we currently serve a few thousand customers, and we're growing every single day. Primarily, we work with small to medium-sized businesses, which is really important because when you're small to medium-sized, taking the busy work out of your day-to-day to manage e-commerce orders is even more important. When you have a larger team, right, it's much easier to have less automation because you have more people to spend the time doing things manually. But for our customers, it's a lot more important to have the ability to kind of take that out of your day-to-day. We currently integrate with over 300 different platforms. But we do add between 25 and 50 new integrations per year. We're very flexible about that. If there's an integration that a customer uses, they want to see it connected directly with Orderdesk. People can put in requests, and we do review those really, really consistently. So a lot of our new integrations are things that our customers are bringing to us and saying, we use this, we use you, we want both, which is fantastic. I'm just going to go through our plans because I think that one of the most interesting and dynamic things about Orderdesk is that we have several different plans, or 3 different plans, to make sure that all the different levels of businesses that are using us are paying something that works for them. They're not overpaying for our business. So we have our starter plan. It's a flat fee of $20 per month plus 25 cents per order. You can connect up to 3 integrations, and you can have 1 user on your account. Typically, that's for smaller businesses, people getting started out. Frequently, it's artists as well who are doing things like print on demand. We have our Pro plan. That's $60 a month, and it's 10 cents per order. As you can see, the per order charge goes down as you move up in plans. That way you can have unlimited integration. Those are our customers that are using a lot of different services, and unlimited users. And that works when you have a larger business, you have more employees who are using the service. And so you can kind of streamline it and not have to pass back and forth on one account. And then we have a Plus account. That's $125 a month. These are people that are getting a much higher volume of orders. It makes sense for them to have a lower order cost. And they get unlimited Pro stores. So if you have a main store and you're running stores for your customers, separate ones, you can connect them all together to parent stores to create an order flow between your main business and all of the clients that you're working with. And you also will have unlimited users, unlimited integrations. What I want to talk about today, the meat of the presentation, is our rule builder. The rule builder is kind of the beating heart of Orderdesk. It's how we create our automations. The thing about rule builder, I think that I'm very passionate about, is that it doesn't take any experience with software to use, especially when you're starting out in e-commerce or when you're growing your business. You're kind of still getting your sea legs. And when creating automations, you could go in the direction of having someone handle the entire tech side of your company, or you can have a hands-on experience. And that's what Orderdesk pushes. And we educate our customers so they can run that on their own. So using the rule builder is a big part of that. And it is controlling the flow of your orders as they come in and sending them where they need to go. As a basic overview, you have your event. That's when the rule is executed. You can choose from a series of filters or not that makes it so that the rule only applies to orders that fit within the parameters of your filter. And then actions. Right now I have a simple one, which is changing a folder whenever an order comes in where the customer country is Canada. Okay. Now, I want to talk about split rules, which seems like something I think on the surface, would I use this? Yes, very much so, because a lot of our customers are starting to move into a model where they're using multiple fulfillment companies. And you could do that all manually, go through your orders as they come in and move them into different folders. But if you're selling from one cart with multiple fulfillment companies and people are buying items that are ultimately fulfilled by separate companies, these split rules are really, really useful. I'm going to start with one where, let's say that you have a store and you're selling socks and t-shirts. Now your t-shirts are being sold in more of a print on demand capacity, but your socks are being sold warehouse. And so when your orders are coming in, you can automatically split them out. This particular rule is going to run when your order is imported. And then you've got a split order. The way these split is there's no need for a filter because the split automatically creates its own filter. In this case, we're going to split those orders by the name of the item. and we're going to use sock because all of your items say sock in them. You can see there's an asterisk at the end of sock. That's called a wildcard match. And what that does is it takes anything with sock in it so that you don't have to have an exact match. It can be the worst when you set up an automation and you're looking for one thing and there is a small change in the item name, you add new items, and then suddenly your rule doesn't work. So using a wildcard match gives you the flexibility to make sure that any item that has sock in it is splitting out. So now we need to tell the socks where they're going. We've split them out, they're in their own order. And so what happens next is that we have another event that's very useful. It's when order is split. So you create a split rule, the rule runs, this rule will run automatically after it. Anytime an order is split in order desk. Since we're doing it anytime any order is split, we are going to add a filter for this rule. And that filter is going to be if the item name contains sock. Socks are a hot topic right now in these rules. So it's going to be looking at those orders. If there's an item name that contains sock, that filter is going to look for it. Now, the action that I've chosen for this one is one that our customers use very frequently to manage is change folder. The folder that it's changing to is labeled export to warehouse. Now, at this point, there are a few things our customers do. I think one of the most valuable ones that you can do is create an export template, and you can have that sent directly to your warehouse, which is a pretty good solution. I think that you're taking out that manual work where, let's say you're saying, okay, let me go to the folder, yes, I'm going to use the phrase print it out, you'd be surprised, and send it to my warehouse, as opposed to sending them a file with all the information in it, and they can sync that back to you. So the next rule that I'm going to show you is going to start with creating a custom event. This is actually one of my favorites. It gives you a little more flexibility. Instead of choosing one of our events that is, order is imported, order is split, folder is changed, you can create a custom event that runs on a time cycle and runs on a specific folder. When you get your rule set up, you'll have the ability to create or select custom events. In this case, I've just added name of event as the event name. You can see it targets the new folder and it repeats every 60 minutes. Once we create that event, we're going to be able to select it for any rule we want to use it on. In this case, I'm going to be using a time rule. So we'll have this custom event. It's checking our folder, it's checking our new folder, and it's checking the timings. So if you take a look at the filter that I have, we're using order date created. Now that refers to when the order is created in order desk. Typically, orders, when they come in from your cart, you can have your settings import them immediately to order desk. And that's usually what you're wanting to do if you're wanting your orders to go out quickly. And if you don't have any reviews or review processes that you do before your orders are sent out. This rule particularly is with the thought in mind, what happens if an order comes in, it's your busy season and it's the holidays, and you know that your customer wants to get that order by the 24th or the 25th of December. That is a pain point, and that is very, very common as we're heading into the holidays. So in this case, you're going to turn this rule on when you have about 5 days to that cutoff point. And so what happens is that the order comes in and our rule builder checks this folder that your orders are in. Was the order date created more than 5 days ago? If that's the case, and the shipping method is priority. Now you might say, why does the shipping method matter for this particular one? It's because, as we know, your shipping method determines how many days it takes for your item to get to the customer. So if they're using priority and you say, okay, it's about 5 days out, this is going to look for priority specifically. And then the action that it's going to do is, I keep saying this is one of my favorites, but this is one of my favorites, is it sends an email to the admin on your account. And that email can say whatever you want. I'm actually going to get into what our email templates look like very shortly. And it's just going to let them know, hey, this order for this customer might not arrive by the 24th or the 25th. How do you want to handle it? I've added an additional sort of fail-safe on this, which is that it'll also tag the order read in the folder. I'll show you what that looks like as well. So that, let's say your admin misses the email. Busy season is busy season, and it happens to the best of us. So in this case, if they were to be reviewing their order folder, those orders that are in that zone where they're not going to arrive are going to be highlighted in a red color. You cannot miss them. So going over to the email template portion of the rule, and this is taking us out of the rule builder and taking us into our email templates within the app. So you can create email templates for any reason. You can create shipment alerts for your customers. You can create alerts for admins like we're talking about now. You can even automatically send out receipts. You can send these over to customers directly, admins, and also to other integrations you're working with. In this case, we're creating a holiday shipment issue email to be sent out to the admin of your store. So you can see, you can choose a template name, and that's going to appear in the drop down of the rule builder. You can choose an email subject. That's what you're going to see in the subject of the email. And then if you'd like, you can override the name of the person sending it, the email of them sending it. There are a lot of things you can customize. The body of the email, we do populate it with default text, but you can customize it with your own code. And so in this case, if you look at it, it's been changed so that the source ID being the order number is going to be listed, and it's going to let your admin know this may not reach the customer by December 25th. Please contact them directly. And now within this code, we've included the email of the customer right there in the body, and then the order information below. It's also important to note that you don't have to send the email to the admin. You can actually create settings to send it directly to the customer. I've created a version of the rule where you have a little more oversight. Some people find that's very, very helpful when timing's on the line, when there's a chance your customer is going to get back to you, they're going to ask for a refund. You want to contact them directly. That's the template that I've created. If you instead would like to send it directly to the customer, you can make some changes and you can send it over to them instead, which is fantastic. Now, I talked about tagging the orders read automatically. Like I said, this is very helpful. It is, we all would hate to admit it, right? We want to say we're constantly always on top of things. We've never made a mistake ever. That's not true. Everyone always makes mistakes every once in a while, right? So in this case, if you were to go into your prepared folder where you're keeping these orders and you see, oh my goodness, there's a lot of orders tagged red. Let me check our email history. Let me see if we sent any emails out to these customers. Have we taken care of this? This is your fail-safe. This is your just in case. And additionally, this is your ability to review. You know, sometimes you just want to check in on things and you don't want to click every single item. That is such a time suck, right? That's just takes up so much of your time. In this case, you can tag them, and we do have multiple colors as well. So you can add additional rules where you're tagging things yellow, you're tagging things green, and you can get a bird's eye view of what's going on with your orders by using this. So you're not having to do a ton of clicking. You know, automation is the name of the game here. Now, I would like to open things up for a Q&A. If anybody has questions, I'm going to go ahead and keep my eye on the chat as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Trisha. That was so helpful. So many different tactics that can just really make merchants' lives a lot easier and in a very user-friendly way. So thank you so much. Again, if you guys have any more questions for Patricia about Order Desk, feel free to head to their booth. And also she'll be answering some in the chat as well. Thank you. And then we're going to pass it back to my coworker, Fran.
Welcome everyone to our next session. Francesca here again. I'm here with Jake, head of marketing at EcoCart. Jake has spent over a decade working between cause-based organizations and software companies trying to leverage his expertise in brand and growth strategy to help companies make an impact on the world. He's going to talk about that with EcoCart and the impact that they've been making. But today he'll unpack how brands can incorporate sustainable solutions into their holiday strategy. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Jake.
Thanks so much, Francesca. Hello, everyone. So I'll kind of start off with just a short kind of intro of myself since she already sort of introduced me so well. My name's Jake Chad. I'm the head of marketing here at EcoCart. What we are at EcoCart is a sustainable customer experience solution. And so the reason we don't just call ourselves a sustainability solution is because we simultaneously help e-commerce brands to operate more sustainably, but also then to integrate that into their customer experience. And that's a really defining distinction, I think, amongst other just pure sustainability solutions. And so, yeah, today I'm sort of going to talk about a few things, right? So I'm going to talk about why sustainability, why you as a merchant should care about sustainability. Then I'm going to kind of talk about what we saw last year around peak season when it comes to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and into the holiday season, and what sustainability looked like at the time. And then I'm going to talk through various strategies around how you can integrate your sustainable solutions and sustainable initiatives into your customer experience. And then I'm going to bring it around for the big basically topic of the day and how this relates to warehouse management during peak season, right? So let's get started. So first, why sustainability, right? So, I'm sure you all have heard a lot of these statistics throughout the past couple of years because it's a really hot topic, but the numbers don't lie, right? Sustainability really is one of the most impactful ways to connect with your consumers today, right? So as I'm sure many of you know, the millennials really started this. Gen Z is really driving it home, and the shoppers even younger than Gen Z are going to bring it, even bigger and bigger. But they really like to vote with their dollar per se, right? So they really like to shop at brands that have values that are aligned with their own values, and sustainability tends to be one of those top values every single time, right? And so two kind of statistics I want to share with you here today are that 2 out of 3 consumers actually say that they check if a brand is sustainable before purchasing, right? So this means they're looking around on websites to see, where's the product made, how is it made, what is this brand doing to fight climate change and take climate action, right? It means something to them, it matters to them. And then, beyond that, like I said here a minute ago, they're actually willing to vote with their dollar, right? It's not just hearsay, but but actually 64% of shoppers are willing to pay more for sustainable products and with sustainable brands, right? So not only do they say they care about this, but where they spend their money shows that they actually really do care about this. So then during the peak season, right, like why sustainability specifically? And something at EcoCart we kind of like to talk about is, back in the day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, peak season used to be all about the discounts, right? You couldn't get those discounts throughout the rest of the year. But then e-commerce became a thing. Everyone was kind of trying to own their customer experience and like really own that one-to-one relationship with their customers. And that led to year-round discounts often, right? You land on a website, they try to capture your email for 10, 20% off. You abandon your cart, you immediately get an email for 30, 40% off. And it's year round that these discounts are happening, right? So that renders these Black Friday, Cyber Monday discounts less unique or less special because they are happening year round, right? But also on top of that, during peak season, right, everyone's putting their best foot forward when it comes to discounts. So really leading with unique messaging will help break through that noise and will actually help drive sales on top of just offering discounts, right? And so, these two statistics that I like to share right here are that 9 out of 10 brands actually now discount year round for various reasons, like I was talking about. And 4 out of 5 shoppers prefer value adds to discounts, they say, actually. And so what I mean by that is not just getting X% off, but, hey, do something in my name, right? Donate to a cause I care about, take climate action, or it could be something as simple, of course, as like adding an additional gift or whatever, which I'm sure a lot of you do in your peak season and holiday season offerings, basically. But basically, the concept here is that just offering these big discounts today is not enough. You got to do more, right? You got to align with their values. You got to add that additional value. So what did we learn at EcoCart around sustainability last year, right? So basically what we saw at EcoCart last year was that carbon neutral orders actually peaked both on Black Friday and Cyber Monday over that big sales weekend, right? So we saw that as people were shopping more, a higher percentage of them were actually choosing to make their orders carbon neutral or climate positive. And they, were very gung-ho that on those big days, not only were they getting discounts, but they were able to align their values again with the merchants that they were purchasing from, right? And then, it kind of showed that like on Sunday, roughly saw a typical amount in terms of the percentage of orders that were made carbon neutral. And then the big thing to drive home here is that 4 times the orders were made carbon neutral than the previous year. So in 2022, we saw 4 times the amount of people on the same number of stores, essentially through the same number of orders, make their order carbon neutral compared to in 2021. Then moving forward, what does this really mean for you as a merchant, right? You're like, okay, consumers care about this, their actions show this, but where's the value to me as a merchant during peak season, right? And so I kind of wanted to do 2 quick, the statistics here around sustainable shopper behavior. So 66% of shoppers actually choose to make their carbon or their order carbon neutral, right? So that's 2/3 of shoppers on average for a merchant choose to do this when they are given the opportunity. The other statistic here is that we are seeing that people who do choose to make their order carbon neutral tend to have a higher repeat purchase rate, right? So we took an assortment of merchants that work with us, and then we compared their sustainable shoppers, so the shoppers that take those sustainable actions, to the shoppers that don't take those sustainable options. And we saw that they actually had a 55% higher repeat purchase rate, right? So not only are tons of shoppers wanting to do this and willing to do this, but those shoppers that are doing this tend to be more valuable to merchants like yourself. So it really works out to want to align with them and actually kind of, be a brand that they want to purchase from. So then let's kind of talk through what some peak season sustainability strategies actually look like in action. So let's start just with sustainability forward messaging, right? So we have merchants, of course, who do all sorts of strategies and tactics, leveraging the information and the transparency from their sustainability initiatives in ads, in email campaigns, in all sorts of campaigns and on all sorts of channels, so on and so forth. And so what we see typically is that ads that lead with sustainable language actually have 2 times the click-through rate compared to those merchants just traditional Black Friday ads, right? So as you can see over here, a really interesting example of a Green Friday ad, which you probably saw in my title slide, is just a fun play on words that we do of like turn your Black Friday into a Green Friday, right? And so the idea around this is like leveraging, some additional value add around your sustainability initiatives, maybe go above and beyond, like you see here, where the merchant themselves makes all orders 100% carbon neutral on the day of, right? So on Black Friday, on Cyber Monday, maybe for all of peak season, whatever it is you want to do, and offer that to the merchants as an additional value add on top of discounts, or maybe instead of discounts, however basically works for you and your audience, right? Then the next kind of point I wanted to make here is that sustainability first brands also see higher engagement when using sustainability forward or sustainable forward messaging. So this is the concept of we've had brands kind of implement their sustainability language into their homepage or on PDP pages, that sort of thing. And it lead to, further click-through rates into the next page, into discovery, so on and so forth, right? And then finally, right, sustainability focused pop-ups and banners, just like those ads, actually see a higher click-through rate, right? So we see on average a 3x click-through rate compared to generic Black Friday pop-ups and banners on home pages and PDP pages, so on and so forth. Moving forward, I want to talk about promotions, right? So that was just kind of leveraging language and kind of your initiatives and what you're doing, right? And so then I want to talk about the act of actually putting like the sustainable action into driving a specific behavior, right? So this is the concept of doing something like, you know, when you do this, we will do this. So for example, get a $50 cart value and we will plant 10 trees on your behalf. Or purchase, you know, a pre-used piece of clothing, right? So maybe bought a shirt and then sent it back because it didn't fit them. So they like tried it on one time. It goes into that brand's branded reseller program, right? There's tons of solutions out there that do this, like Tree, like Trove, so on and so forth. And then, you know, when someone chooses to buy a pre-owned or returned item, maybe they get an additional discount or an additional gift, that sort of thing. But really just leveraging sustainability and sustainable actions and discounts discounts or offerings or gifts together, right, to really drive the desired action so that you are getting that kind of 1-2 punch of both the discount or gift as well as aligning with that shopper's values, because it is a more sustainable option or selection that they're making, right? And so kind of what we're seeing across the board with stuff like this, right, is that sustainable offerings in conjunction with promotions tend to drive engagement up anywhere between 25 to 35%. And shoppers who engage with sustainable promotions are actually 5 times more likely to take those sustainable actions, right? So the combination of these two, so you know, the first one again was just kind of using that language, being transparent and like upfront about your sustainability initiatives. When you actually combine it with these incentives, it really drives the value and the benefits up for both you and the shopper even more here, basically. And then let's go on to the next one. And this is kind of the final section, right? So this is really just integrating sustainable actions into rewards or into your loyalty program as a whole, right? So, you know, a big topic I think that our industry is talking about and has been talking about for the past couple of years is that like acquisition is not enough, right? Or retention's the new acquisition as well. But like it's always a big topic of like, okay, you get all these new shoppers, you get all these great sales, so on and so forth during peak season. How do you keep these shoppers? How do you get them coming back for more beyond peak season, right? And so we really wanted to drive home that we have merchants who see a lot of success with like these more retention focused metrics when they integrate sustainable, you know, CX into their loyalty program, basically, right? So the idea here is that you could offer like double loyalty points or a specific amount of loyalty points for when someone takes a sustainable action, or you could even offer shoppers to be able to leverage their existing loyalty points to take further sustainable action down the road, right? And so something you see here is Face the Future, which is a big you know, e-commerce brand, leveraged this exact strategy in their loyalty program, right? And they saw a 130% higher AOV than the shoppers who were not leveraging these options, right? They saw 3 times more spend than their typical shoppers with these shoppers who were leveraging this. And these shoppers were 3 times more likely to make a repeat purchase within that 6-month period that they were looking at than their typical shoppers, right? So all around much more valuable than their average shopper because they were putting more in their cart, they were spending overall more, and they were coming back more, right? So it's really everything you kind of want. And then kind of, you know, like I said, bringing it back home, how does this help warehouse management in the end, right? Because that's kind of why we're all here today. And I wanted to make sure we were looping ourselves back into that overarching theme. And so I kind of want to talk about inventory, sustainability, and customer experience, right? So when you are offering these things, like I said, it's really about the value exchange, right? Shoppers, consumers, whatever you want to call them, care about this. They prove that by what they say, what they look for, and what they spend their money on, right? And so when you are giving them that value add, you tend to be able to then gain more understanding from them in these hectic times where maybe inventory management could be more difficult because your sales are through the roof and you just don't have enough stuff on the shelf, but you want to be able to sell things that aren't there, so on and so forth. So things like green shipping over fast shipping helps manage those expectations like that, because you could say, choose to have a carbon neutral or climate positive order. And maybe you won't get this as quickly, but you'll feel good about it. And maybe, as a shopper, you care about this and you don't necessarily need that thing you're buying tomorrow or the next day. Maybe you can wait a week or two, kind of thing. And then, circular offers help ease shoppers' minds about gifts, right? So this is the idea of maybe that shopper themselves is not so sustainable or doesn't care so much about sustainability, but maybe someone they're buying gifts for does, right? And so if you offer the option to buy, returned pieces of clothing or secondhand stuff, then maybe they could purchase that, and that's an additional benefit to the gift that they're gifting that person, right? Or if they're buying it for themselves, of course, that also works if they care about sustainability. So that's another way this kind of works and helps out, with existing returned inventory that you had. And then finally, right, just transparency helps overall wow shoppers and bring them back to buy again. And sustainability in your customer experience is first and foremost all about transparency. I think, being transparent about your sustainability initiatives helps also lead you into being transparent about, whatever inventory challenges you have at the time, so on and so forth. And so I think just overall having that, that chance to talk to people about, this is something I care about, this is the truth about why this is taking so long to get to you, that sort of thing, can really be beneficial when it's packaged up with all of the benefits and everything you're trying to do, both good and the challenges that you're overcoming, basically. And that's sort of all I have today. I wanted to keep it kind of short and sweet. So yeah, thanks for having me, and any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Yeah, any questions anyone has, put them in the chat because we do have a couple of minutes. One that I did see, Jake, was you had talked about donation on behalf of a customer or adding something extra, like adding a gift. Someone asked like any insights or preferences on donation on behalf of the customers versus adding gifts to their purchases. So like probably the thought process I'm thinking is you're doing a donation, there's no physical product, versus giving them a physical product and adding on, which might not look sustainable. That's how we took the question, I think.
Yeah. So I think it really is a case-by-case basis, right? It really depends what your product is, what your audience is, and what like the preferences that they have are, right? So like if you are a very sustainable forward brand and your products tend to be very sustainable in the way that you're manufacturing and shipping them, I don't think that that's going to harm the climate action that's going on in addition to that, right? But again, like I think that if like you are hyper sustainable and maybe gifting really isn't that sustainable, then it could be more beneficial to do just the sustainable action, like the sustainable gift over the physical gift. But we see success across the board, right? We see success with merchants who just offer that additional sustainable benefit, like I said, like planting 10 trees or whatever it is, as well as merchants who do the gift as well as the sustainable option. And, I'm sure plenty of merchants as well just are happy to have the gift still. But we do, like I said, see an increase in engagement when that sustainable component is added to the traditional offer, basically.
Awesome. I hope that answered their question. Keep posting questions in the chat. One I have, Jake, that I don't think we covered, but kind of goes along with EcoCart's mission, is like, what is the messaging around waste and like the packaging that the product is coming in and managing that? Like, have you consulted merchants on like managing, or just at least communicating to the customer how to properly dispose of things or how to like repurpose the materials that they're getting? Because they're buying a bunch of orders, but like there's nowhere for the waste to go.
Yeah, so we do work on this with multiple merchants, and there are tons of tools and resources to kind of help you do this. But I think like I said, it really starts with transparency, right? And so I think when you are trying to be as sustainable as possible, and you do have a decent amount of packaging that has to do with your product and how you ship your product, then just being very upfront when the order is made about that. And sort of like you said, Francesca, of like, hey, this is the best way to dispose of it. This is sort of what is expected over the lifetime of the product in terms of like emissions or waste and so on and so forth. And just be upfront with them about, this is probably what this is going to cause, and here are the best options to counteract that. That's really the best that a merchant can do. And when you're kind of talking with them about it and talking about it as a we kind of thing, right? Like, we are in this together and we are working to be better as an industry and as people in general around this. That's really what resonates with people. And that's what really drives those deeper relationships, which fosters that loyalty, which is why sustainability is important in the first place, right? Because it helps brands to connect on a one-to-one basis with customers in a way that a lot of other things can't, basically. So
awesome. Thank you for touching on that. We are going into the next session. So if you have any other questions for Jake, pop them in the chat or go to the EcoCart booth and post them there. But we'll see you guys in the next session. And Jake, thank you so much. This is always a topic I love talking about. And I think that brands want more information. So thanks for bringing some actionable tips for them for the peak season that's coming up.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye. We'll see you guys in the next session.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. As a reminder, my name is Krista. I'm a partner manager here at ShipBob, and I'm very excited to announce our next session with Dan, who's the manager of subscription customer success over at Yotpo. So Dan is a seasoned marketer who has worked with a wide range of clients across verticals in the e-commerce industry. And today he's going to be talking about how brands can leverage subscriptions to transform one-time holiday shoppers into loyal customers. So I will pass it over to you, Dan, and everyone make sure to drop your questions in the chat.
Introduction there, Chris is super excited to get to chat with everyone today and go over having a little bit of Wi-Fi difficulties from the office today, but promise I'm here and excited to be chatting with you all and going through this. So turn this camera off and get started. This up here. Okay. So as we get into the deck here, looks like my screen. Can you all see this? The gift of reoccurring revenue and Yotpo subscription. So like Chris said, I've been at Yotpo for quite a few years now. I've been working from our loyalty team, have moved over to managing our subscription product and overseeing the CS efforts and working with some of our largest partners. And I'm super excited to get to chat with you all today about leveraging subscriptions to take those one-time holiday shoppers and really turn them into a loyal shopper that will keep coming back for more and creating a reoccurring revenue stream for you and the other businesses. A little bit about Yotpo and a little about myself. I manage our subscription customer success team here at Yotpo and have been on the product and team since we launched it. So I've gotten to see a ton of growth from this product, but also from Yotpo in general over the past 5 years that I've been here. Yotpo, as a company, we offer reviews, loyalty, visual UGC galleries, SMS, email, and subscriptions. Each product can be purchased on their own, but really where the beauty comes in is when they all come together and you're able to have that unified data layer feeding in and creating a unified experience. As a company, We have 8 different offices worldwide, so no matter where you are, we're able to provide a local presence. We have 750 plus employees and 35,000 happy clients, which is really exciting and something that I'm super proud of, being on the customer success team. When we looked at Yotpo as a platform, one of the big things for us was creating a long-term relationship. How can we double down on retaining your customers while all of the costs to acquire customers only gone up? The ability to retain them is something that we felt people weren't really going into, and that's where we wanted to come in and double down on here with you. As we look forward and we look at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what did we learn since the last BCFM? So in 2022, holiday sales were up almost 10% year over year. This is a great sign for any marketers and for anyone that is in the space that we're growing and we're coming out of it. TikTok has reached over 1 billion users globally. If you're not on that platform, you're not selling there, this is a really great opportunity to get into it. We actually just started syndicating our reviews onto the TikTok shop, which is super exciting. And we've seen 90% of retailers increase their marketing budgets in 2023, which is showing that uptick like we mentioned above. And 73% of Americans expect brand communications to be tailored to their preferences. So using this information, we know people are spending more. We know that the retailers are getting ready, all of you on this call, to have a higher budget and go after the customers. How can we now ensure that you're having the best Black Friday, Cyber Monday yet, and then retaining those new shoppers going forward? What the market is telling us about this year as we look forward, this is going to be our biggest Black Friday, Cyber Monday yet. We've reached a point where the post-pandemic lull is starting to come out, and we're getting ready to hit a really, really strong Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Outside of just the new sales numbers, we do see shoppers are price conscious with the economic conditions, so they're being thoughtful about their purchasing, but this is a great time for you to get in front of them and get them shopping. Mobile first is a huge piece to everything that we're doing, whether it's in communication or in the experience that a shopper has. When they are shopping on the site, a lot of them are going to be through mobile, and with that, there are the new privacy concerns. So I'm sure everybody here is well aware of the iOS changes to the tracking that can take place. So the ability to target and effectively bring in new customers is going to be even more relevant this year. So when you do get them on your site, we want to make sure that we're able to retain them. And then how do we retain them? We create personalization. We want to make sure that every shopper that comes to your site is getting an experience that's unique to them and different from someone else. When we dive into the actual customers that are coming onto the site, a really big important piece is getting them to convert and hopefully convert as a subscribing customer. If your product lends itself to subscriptions, this is a really great way to convert those high intent active users into a subscriber. At Yotpo, something that I'm working with a lot of our brands is how to target them through SMS and email. How can we find a way to make sure that your most loyal VIP customers are getting a really unique experience towards Black Friday, Cyber Monday, compared to somebody who is brand new and just signed up for an email list? This catered marketing approach is something I've dived into with a lot of my partners, some of them doing unique things like starting Black Friday, Cyber Monday, actually on November 1st for their VIP customers. You give them almost a month early notice to get shopping and take advantage of it. And then if you tailor the discounts towards subscriptions, we're able to make sure they stay a subscriber longer and generate even more revenue for you. Within these engagements, we talked about segmenting the customers to make sure you're targeting them properly on the last side. Now we want to talk about how we can make sure the engagement is as thoughtful as possible. We really want to make sure that when you are going out and contacting your customers before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're really priming them for this. They're going to get a ton of emails, they're going to get a ton of texts coming to them. How can we make sure that they're already used to seeing your content and that it's engaging for them? Whether that's product launches, new collections, promos for the different seasons that are coming up, SMS exclusive sales, or brand partnerships. And as always, non-promotional, just brand content, making them aware of why they should shop with you. This is really important to start doing in the next month or so that we can get people engaged and primed to be hearing from you. So it's not, oh, I haven't heard from Yotpo in 6 months, and then all of a sudden I get a text that Black Friday, Cyber Monday's here. They're not going to remember you. They're not going to make sure that that is a store that they're choosing to spend their dollars with. One of the really cool ways that once you do engage with them and you're able to bring them onto your site, something that I'm doing with a lot of my partners are extra points for those customers. So when someone does go to sign up for a subscription, let's offer them double points for signing up so that we can get them in the door and on the subscription going forward. And then once they are there, can we make their points worth a little bit more? What we really would love to see is that your loyalty program can help offset the heavy discounting that a lot of times people have to run for Black Friday, Cyber Monday by offering point incentives and redemption discounts from previously earned points throughout the year. Something we recently rolled out was a really cool surprise and delight package. So this is something that I encourage all of our partners to do, regardless if you're working with subscriptions or not, is find ways to create those wow moments with your customers. Today, in this day and age, people are inundated with hundreds, if not thousands, of different products that are being shown to them, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it may be. We want to make sure that when they do choose your brand to shop, they're getting those wow moments, signing into their subscriptions portal, seeing they have a discount waiting for them, easy and ready to use, seeing that they can go and dive into a SMS text and they have a great coupon waiting for them. The different ways that we can engage with someone and make sure that they're being surprised in every action that they're taking is huge. We want to make sure that the customers know who you are and they feel that attraction and they feel like their dollars should be attributed to you when there's so many places that they could be going. Something else that we really put a lot of emphasis on and something that I'm focusing on with my team and making sure all my CSMs are really pushing are these easy ways to get customers to convert. You have a shopper's attention for only a few seconds. There's not a ton of time that you're able to get them to stay focused and then to actually convert. So something we really want to do is get the customers to have a really easy funnel into the buying journey. We recently rolled out an upsell trigger where after someone makes a purchase, if the product is available on subscriptions, we wait a few days, I'd say 30 days on average, and then we send a text saying, hey, want to subscribe to this so you can get a discount? Click here. Takes them into their cart, they're ready to go. It doesn't have to just be subscriptions though. There's a lot of different ways we can do this, whether it's creating an easy add to cart link using permalink structures, whether it's figuring out a way to make sure that when a customer lands on the site, it's super easy to see what the best selling products are in the banner or in the collections. Nothing's worse than landing on a site, being confused and not even seeing their best sellers. We want to make sure that that's brought up front and foremost, and using technology like this with the easy add to cart links, it gets them excited and gets them signing up. There's also a really great tool that I'm going to have my team leveraging post Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So if we have this trigger running now, someone makes a purchase during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they're trying out a new product, we wait 30 days, and then we ask them if they want to subscribe. We can even add on to that data layer with reviews to know, did they write a 5-star review? Then we should ask them to subscribe. If they wrote a 4-star or maybe a 2-star review, we don't ask them to subscribe because they probably weren't a fan. And that text, going back to the original point of being engaging and being catered to them, doesn't really fall in line with it. As we continue to grow with all of the different offerings and all of the different ways that customers are seeing what you have to offer and what is available to them, we really want to make sure it's catered and unique to them. When we are looking at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, just to quickly summarize all of the different things that we're working towards and we want to get the most out of, we really want you to feel connected to your customers, but most of all, we want your customers to feel connected to you. In every SMS and email that you start sending out in the next month, make sure that's engaging. It's tailored to what the customer is looking for. Make sure that it's something that's going to make them feel a connection to you that's a little bit different than every other brand that's reaching out to them. Those engagements over this next month is going to be what sets you up for the future, which will be Black Friday, Cyber Monday, getting people primed and ready to shop on your store to get the most out of the product. And then with that information, can we get them to be subscribers? Can we get them onto the site so that this revenue isn't just a one-time spike, but a consistent revenue stream that's coming in not only during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but but on a go forward basis so that you can see it for the foreseeable future. This is what we're doing here at Yapo, and I'm really leveraging our team for and encouraging them to do to get the most out of not only Yapo, but all of our partners that we integrate with, so that we can ensure our partners and our brands that we're working with are getting the most from their shoppers during this Black Friday, Cyber Monday season. You can open it up if anyone has any other questions, or I do know we have a really awesome raffle coming up that Chris is going to be running here. So super excited to see where that falls as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. Thanks for sticking through. I know we had some technical difficulties, so thanks for bearing with us there, everyone. I don't see any questions in the chat, some comments that someone uses Yapo for other services, so definitely go check out the subscription service as well. If you have any other questions for Dan, go ahead, drop them in the chat, or you can head over to the Yapo booth as well. And wanted to congratulate our winner, Jennifer Custer, who she's going to win our Spike Ball Pro Kit. So such a fun prize. The ShipBob team will be in touch to coordinate shipping. So congrats, Jennifer. And I think with that, I will pass it back to Tom. He's going to intro our last session of the day. So stick around for that. It's going to be a good one. And thanks again, Dan.
Hello, everybody. Super glad that we still have you all with us today. Just obviously wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been super jam-packed with great tips, tricks, getting ready for peak. I was really interested in seeing a lot of the conversation folks are having in the chat, which is awesome to see merchants feeding off each other and learning from one another. So please keep that up. That's been super awesome to see. But with our last session here, I am super excited to introduce ShipBob's Chief Supply Chain Officer, Melissa Nick, and our Chief Marketing Officer, Casey Armstrong. So what we've got in store is today, Casey will be hosting kind of like an AMA style session with our featured guest who recently joined the ShipBob team. Prior to joining ShipBob, she's had 20 years of supply chain experience, where she most recently served as Amazon's VP of North America in terms of the customer fulfillment side of house. With her expertise in supply chain and operational excellence, we are thrilled for her to be joining the team and can't wait to get into the session today. So Casey, Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to y'all and look forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. In the backstage, I learned that Melissa used to race competitively snowboarding. And so each time I talk to her, I find out that she's a lot cooler than I am. So you're now the Chief Supply Chain Officer over at ShipBob. We've shipped over 100 million orders, and we're very proud of that. Prior to this, you were head of North American fulfillment for Amazon, where I'm sure you shipped a few more packages than that. How did you end up in supply chain in the first place?
Yeah. I went to school. I thought I was going to be an electrical engineer, and I was working for an amazing company in Spokane, Washington, and they made rugged laptops. So they made laptops you could drop from a telephone pole, or they're used overseas by our military, and you can fill them full of sand and they still work. And so I thought I was going to be an engineer on that team. And within 6 months, I was asked to move over and become a leader in operations. And so I started as kind of a supervisor level, and I just loved leading operations teams. And the rest is history. I just continued to take on broader scale, broader scope, and bigger roles in supply chain.
Yes, definitely bigger roles. Well, I look forward to hearing more about the in-between of all that. So you've been at ShipBob for a few months now. You've definitely gotten involved in some really big projects, and are leading some really exciting initiatives. So what are some of the projects that you're working on at ShipBob today that are newer that you're most excited about?
Yeah, we've been launching inbound hubs throughout this year, and that helps us to process inbound volume from merchants with higher quality, faster speed. And so a little bit about the inbound kind of hub and spoke model. Rather than receiving inventory across our almost 50 fulfillment centers, we receive inventory into 5 hubs spread regionally across the United States. And so This model allows us to better spread inventory for our merchants and also enables our inventory placement program. So I'm really excited about the inventory placement program as well. And this is something, in my experience at Amazon, we really focused a lot about making sure we had the right inventory at the right spot in the right spot. And so inventory placement program now allows our merchants to send their inventory just to one hub, rather than having to worry about how do I spread this inventory across the network and get the right placement. And so they don't have to worry about splitting goods anymore. And we worry about that to get it closer to their end customers. And so once the inventory arrives at a hub, we calculate the optimized placement for that inventory across the network, and then we cross-place the inventory on their behalf. And so so far, merchant feedback's been really positive. They're able to focus their attention on other areas of the business instead of having to worry about optimal placement for their inventory. So those are a couple of things that are going on that are really preparing us for peak.
Yes, definitely. That's great. And I know we've talked about it before, but really giving the sellers that easy button so they can, like you said, focus on what they do best and allow us to do the rest and just send everything to one location. So I know a lot of the conversations today have been around the warehouse management system, or WMS, which of course we use to power our fulfillment centers, whether it's down the street from me in Southern California or across the world in Australia or in the fulfillment centers of our customers as well. So what are some things that you're excited about this year and maybe early next year that we're going to be expanding with the WMS?
Yeah, just a comment on the WMS. When I was considering joining the ShipBob team, this is something that truly sets ShipBob apart from others. And so I got to go tour a site during kind of the hiring process, and I got to see it in action and play around as orders were being picked, packed, and shipped, and truly impressed with how user-friendly our WMS is. And so a few things are coming up that are going to just continue to help make managing our supply chain even more efficient. In the upcoming release, you'll see that our clustering logic continues to improve. And so clustering is the way in which we pick customer orders. And very soon, we're going to be able to cluster those orders by purchase date. And it really helps us to serve our merchants, particularly merchants who have like large order drops. We have many merchants that we partner with that have order drops. Will some new release will hit their website and a flood of orders will come in, and we want to be able to make sure we can prioritize those according to the needs of the merchant, and also prioritize around VIP customers, or however they want us to prioritize. It'll help us to better create that dynamic clustering for them. And so really excited about that one. We also continue to enhance our B2B functionality to enable our merchants to reach their customers through their own retailer partners. And so some of the improvements that we'll continue to see is enhancements to the logic that we use to prioritize our B2B orders, how we track their completion, how we manage freight for B2B, and then also getting those transportation logistic details so that we can better track kind of from ship to receive within the retailer's own four walls.
That's great. And I know the cluster pick is such a must-have where, from touring, prospects or customers in our facilities that are evaluating our WMS or visiting, their facilities before and after, I so often hear, terms like, well, it's just tribal knowledge, or, hey, it's written on a piece of paper, what you're supposed to pick every day. And brands have been able to really reduce the staff and improve efficiencies and accuracies with everything from the pick side, which is just great to see.
Absolutely.
As we enter the holidays, I know that's on top of everybody's mind. I'm always impressed when people are joining us at dates like now, because the peak prep is definitely real, and I know we start that as early as Q1 for the upcoming peak. What is the best contingency plan, when things go left during peak? You of course saw things at crazy scale at Amazon, and are now seeing that at ShipBob. So yeah, what's the best contingency plan do you think through?
Yeah, improving the efficiency to meet spikes in demand for peak just requires a ton of planning. And it's so critical to have a contingency plan for when volumes come in well above forecast and below forecast. But above is what we all want to see, right? And so we really focused on making sure that we want to be a partner who can come through when volumes come in really high and maybe it was unanticipated. And so we want to be able to make that magic happen. And so you have to have contingency plans for when that will happen. Building out playbooks for forecast heaviness, and then what actions will take to meet those needs with merchants, whether it be adding additional capacity, turning on additional fulfillment capability, working extra hours. How do you have those triggers so that you know what levers you have to pull to add capacity to meet the peak demand? I talked earlier about ShipBob's inventory placement program. This is a massive lever even for WMS customers who maybe aren't on IPP, but inventory placement is critical for all supply chains during peak. When the snow hits the northeast of the country, if you have all of a really hot SKU sitting in the northeast, you're kind of dead in the water. You can't move that SKU. And so having at a minimum, having that coverage on the coast is critical so that those important items are not stuck in the snow and you're able to meet your customers and need before the holidays hit. And so making sure inventory is available is super critical, and it prevents those issues from really bogging down your supply chain when weather happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up around splitting the inventory. I was talking to a customer of ours at our Fulfilled event that you were, of course, at where you started our big customer event earlier this year. And this customer of ours, they were one of the top Shopify sellers last year, and they fulfilled in-house, but because they had such a massive influx in orders during Black Friday, Cyber Monday craziness, they actually had to start diverting orders or some of their inventory to our fulfillment centers to get that throughput and output that they needed. So for this year, while a majority of the year they're solely utilizing our WMS, they're actually tapping into our hybrid model as well, which is pretty exciting. And so for all of Q4, they'll be splitting across 5 fulfillment centers plus their own. So I just love the creativity that the WMS offers,
right,
that our customers really bring to us. Any crazy peak stories that you can share?
Back in the good old days of just trying to get as many boxes out the door as we possibly can, we would, I'm used to loading up the truck and driving it to the airport so it'll hit the right sort and get to customers at the right time. A cool accomplishment for myself I'm pretty proud of, though. I became the 3rd general manager ever in the history at Amazon to ship 1 million items in 24 hours. And this was back in, I want to say 2015, before we had robots running around doing the work, doing part of the work for our associates. And so super manual process. And I made history that day. Not very many leaders pre-robotics can say they shipped 1 million in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, that's a very big number. We've talked a lot about, how to prepare for peak and how to navigate peak. What are some of your tips for post-peak?
Yeah, many companies think that vacation starts on December 25th. As they're celebrating the holidays, they kind of take a deep breath and it's over with. But, you can't take your eye off the ball at that time of the year. Late December and kind of into early January, it's return season. And so logistics providers have to be ready to take in that kind of influx of returns that you'll see post-holiday. And then also there's a mini peak of sales that happen due to gift card spend. And so being prepared for that gift card bump is also super critical, all at the same time as you're kind of managing through returns and gift card spend. Our staffing is really light because our team just works so hard during peak season, and they deserve some time with family. And so a lot of vacations during that time. So you have to be able to manage through super thin staffing, limited resources, but how do you meet the needs of return peak as well as gift card spend bump at the same time? So that's a little guidance. Make sure that we're not forgetting December 26th. The work starts all over again.
Yes, that is true. I'm glad you called out the gift card spend as well. And I see Jennifer in the chat chiming in with that as well, where it's such a good idea for these brands to, look for ways to leverage gift cards, whether that's increasing the AOV or to unlock free shipping if they purchase that as well, because that can really help flatten the drop post Black Friday, Cyber Monday, post, Hanukkah and Christmas and the holiday season as well. And so just definitely something to think about, and especially depending on your vertical, like the New Year, New You trend often picks up pretty heavily in January. So there's just a lot you can leverage there to really flatten that out and then try to pick things back up as you head into, early or late spring, early summer. What are, you've seen, I feel like in the last 3 or 4 years alone, the changes in supply chain have been just at such an accelerated clip. As you look at what you've seen over the last 20 years and over the last couple of years, from the COVID craziness to post-COVID to wherever we are today, what are some of the trends in supply chain that you anticipate and look forward to seeing in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it used to be that we kind of had a world where you sell in brick and mortar or you sell through a marketplace. And those were kind of generally the areas that, merchants were really focused on. But I'm excited because we're seeing our merchants really want more choice in how they reach their customers. And they don't want to just pick one option, right? And so that omni-channel fulfillment capability is super important. One merchant may want to sell their products directly from their website, and it shows up on the customer porch, and it's in an amazing customized box with inserts and other things that make it just a really cool unboxing experience. But at the same time, those same SKUs may be available through Walmart or Target, and so they need that B2B support. And then at the same time, they may have some of their SKUs, those same SKUs that they'd like to continue to sell on, a marketplace like Amazon. And so they need those SKUs prepped for like FBA. And so I think that optionality is just going to continue. We'll continue to layer on additional ways in which merchants can reach their customer where they're at as technology improves. And so it's exciting to see where we're headed.
You mentioned retail and B2B. For the people in here that utilize our WMS solely, or maybe even hybrid, but they're still fulfilling some of their orders, the wedge really for ShipBob almost 10 years ago was the direct-to-consumer opportunity. And we've invested heavily over the last few years into B2B and retail, but it's definitely kind of a different muscle, and what you need in the four walls is a little bit different. So as these brands are fulfilling themselves and getting into retail and utilizing our WMS for that, any tips on how they can navigate that?
Yeah, B2B is a complex business, and it's super critical to have tight processes in place to meet the requirements of the retailers. And every single retailer has very different requirements, and they're extremely strict. And so making sure that you're really thinking about your B2B business as a standalone, where you're not sacrificing one part for the other, and it's really two different value streams within your operation, and then having teams that are specifically trained in the very specialized requirements of B2B processing, that'll set you up to win in this space and manage through the complexity.
Yeah. It's been fascinating to see some of the different retailers really pull some of the market forward, and how these brands have really been able to leverage that, not just through selling in the physical shop, but like you mentioned earlier, through the marketplaces as well. So I know we utilize quite a bit of AI with our fulfillment engine that really connects our merchant application to our warehouse management system, and how we handle inventory placement program and a bunch of other items. From your perspective, how do you see technology like artificial intelligence evolving our industry?
Yeah, AI is going to help to continue to improve our forecasting and capacity planning capabilities across the entire supply chain. And I expect this is going to make dynamic decision-making even easier, providing insights and recommendations for review. And so it's going to be an all-in cost win for the supply chain, because we'll eliminate waste through those inventory flows. Rather than investing a lot of resources and energy into reviewing data, trying to gain insights through it, and then making a decision what to do, AI and machine learning can really help us to accelerate that process, where we can consume that data and gain insights much faster to drive decision-making that influence kind of inventory placement and demand planning and all of the key inputs to how we manage the supply chain.
Yeah, that's great. And something I look forward to, us being able to continue unlock for our sellers, as we ingest so much data from, when things come inbound on how we should split the inventory to, obviously on the outbound side as well. So we are about to enter the busiest time of year. You did call out post-peak. You can't just, put your feet up and relax because there are returns. Hopefully you're leveraging gift cards. If you're in certain industries like health and wellness, January and February might be some of the craziest months of the year for you. Or, if you sell snowboard gear or other items for winter activities, which we've seen as well, they can, continue to blow up there as well. But how do you plan to relax after the holidays are really over for you?
Yeah, I'm debating which direction I'm gonna head. Ideally, I'll head to Utah and spend some time in the snow. That's where I can just really unwind and get some snowboarding time in. But if my husband has his way, we're gonna head to Cabo and put our feet in the sand. And so very polar opposite plans. So we'll have to arm wrestle and figure that one out. Hopefully we can figure out how to do both before the snow melts. So
yeah. I like the idea of both. Those are both great options. Well, Melissa, thank you very much. And everybody in the attendance, really appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And if not, Melissa, again, thank you so much. I always learn a lot whenever we chat.
Thanks, Casey.
Awesome, y'all. Well, Melissa, absolutely amazing. As Casey mentioned, you learn so much every time that we get the opportunity to chat with you. To kind of reiterate what Casey mentioned and what you called out, right? Being prepared for the post-holiday rush with those gift cards return. So like you said, maybe vacation doesn't start right after the holidays. You've got to get up a couple of weeks before you kind of relax. And I also really enjoyed that call out that you specifically had that, B2B is a total separate entity of your business. It's very complicated. It's very detail oriented. So if you are going to explore getting into the retail B2B route, make sure that the team running it is quite detail oriented because as you called out, they have some pretty unique requirements and everybody's just a little bit different there. Well, y'all, this was absolutely phenomenal. Amazing sessions today. I want to thank everybody that stayed till the end. As we did call out earlier, everything is being recorded. Those will be at your inbox tomorrow. If you want to hang on for a couple more minutes and jump into the virtual booths and talk with some of our partners and sponsors, please do. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to the individualized speakers. I think they did drop their emails in the chat. But as always, just want to say thank you so much for everybody that participated and for all the great conversation and questions in the chat, and wishing everybody the best peak season as it approaches. Thanks so much, y'all.